Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Aging with Attitude here on Channel 13, serving the greater Charlotte metro market. My name is Phil Koch. I'll be your host this evening, and tonight we have Suzanne Wilson, who's with the Brookstone Schools. Welcome, Suzanne.
Welcome. Thank you.
Great. Well, tell me more about Brookstone and maybe how it got started.
We are a Christ-centered school of excellence right in the heart of Charlotte. We're 15 years old. We're an independent nonprofit, and the school started basically through prayer. It was birthed in prayer. A small group of Charlotteans back in the mid-90s met regularly to pray, and God really put a vision on their hearts to start a school. They could really see the need in the community. Yeah. That was even, the same is true today. It was true in the 90s. The highest percentage of children in our city who are failing in school and drop out is with our minority children from poverty. So they saw the need and they stepped out in faith. They prayed for 4 years, just meeting informally as a prayer group, praying about founding a school in the heart of the city, and that is no small feat, no. To start a school from scratch. So they prayed and they looked at models around the country, and actually got this executive director from Detroit to come to Charlotte and speak to them about how they got their school started. It was a very successful school called Cornerstone, and that really got them energized and excited about how they could fund such a school. And then in 2000, they identified 2 locations, one on the west side of Charlotte and one on the east side, both in fragile neighborhoods. And once those locations were identified, it sort of accelerated after that. In 2000, they formed a nonprofit, got a school board together, and very talented chairman of the board. I was hired before the school opened to work on the education plan. Right. I did that. And then in 2001, we opened, very small seed beginning, right. Big vision. Small beginning, and have been going ever since.
Since 2001?
Since 2001.
Wow, wow. So how many, is still the 2 locations?
No, we stayed in 2 locations for about 3 years, and that was a challenge because basically it was myself and the chief administrator, going between both locations and trying to run an operation in 2 places with a very limited staff, so you can sort of connect the dots. It was very challenging. So to cut cost and to sort of streamline our operation, we consolidated. An opportunity came on the west side to move into a warehouse that had been converted, perfect location for a school. Wow. So we moved there, and then when we opened, we were Brookstone Schools because we were 2 schools, and then and that's how we're registered in Mecklenburg is 2 schools, Brookstone Schools, but we consolidated in 1 location, and we are still schools because we, at some point in time, that may happen again.
So are they privately run still, or they fall under the auspices of the Mecklenburg County Schools?
They are private. Okay. We are independent. It's hard for people to sort of get their minds around, who we are and what we are, because when you say the word school, you think of public, charter, independent, religious schools, and so forth. But we're none of the above. We are an independent nonprofit. We exist because of philanthropy. Right. The goodwill of the community.
So give me give us an example of what would a typical student, are they coming physically, are they located physically close to the actual school, Or do they come across Charlotte?
Yeah,
It depends.
Well, when we first opened, Phil, the idea was to be in neighborhoods in close proximity to families, and for the school to be a place that was, that operated like a home, very welcoming, very, up close and personal with families and so forth, small. And so in those two locations, the east side, west side, we did serve. When we started up, we did serve the immediate neighborhoods.
Right.
And so, and those were families, from poverty that were around the school. And then, but over time, over these past 15 years, we have become more of a destination school.
Right.
In that, the reputation has grown about the school, that we, have wonderful outcomes. And so families tell other families, word of mouth, it gets out into the community. So right now we're located downtown, but we have families from the west side, from North Charlotte, and from the east side. Not so much from South Charlotte, but so it's very much a destination.
And what are the grades that are taught at the school?
Kindergarten through 8th grade.
Really? Okay. And then they would then feed on to public schools usually, or how's that?
Well, yes, some go to CMS schools, some have gone to independent schools, and to Christian schools that we've helped them to get financial aid. Right. So they have various, I'd say a third go to the religious schools, a third maybe charter, and the rest into CMS public schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
Must be very rewarding.
It is deeply rewarding.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, our goal is to equip them so that wherever they go, they are equipped academically, socially, and spiritually. So they have a good foundation. And when you consider we go from kindergarten through 8th grade, potentially that's 9 years of formation.
Really? Wow.
So that's pretty, but we are a college-bound program. So as soon as a family walks in the door, it's all about casting vision for what the potential is.
We have some friends that are teachers, and have all seemed to say the same thing. One of their greatest rewards, other than teaching that day in the classroom and watching kids evolve, is later on in life, a child that they used to teach coming up to them, even if they don't recognize them, that child recognizing the teacher and saying, "Hi, Mrs. Smith, how are you?" And telling them about what they're doing. Do you find that the case?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have teachers that still get letters from students that have gone, to high school and are now in college.
Really?
I mean, we started in 2001, started very small, so it's taken many years. I mean, we started only with kindergarten and first grade, so it's taken many years for some of these students to be in college. But we stay in touch.
Right.
We stay in touch. We can see their lives unfolding, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. So about 3 years ago, my son, who's now 12, 4 years ago, he was 8, and we were at Walmart, and he bumped into a teacher, and he looked at me and he goes, "That's Mrs. Smith." I'm like, "Well, that's great." I said, "Let's go talk to her." He goes, "No." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "What is she doing here?"
You said that.
Yeah, I think some children, at least my child at the time, thought,
right.
Well, they're supposed to be at school all the time. What are they? They don't actually have lives like the rest of us. You see that?
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that I still remember some of my teachers from elementary school.
Yeah.
By name. It has a very profound effect on children.
On your whole life.
And on your whole life.
Yes.
Well, I think the window of opportunity is when you consider 5 years old, kindergarten through 13 or 14, those are formative years.
Yes.
Very formative. And so we have an amazing opportunity to really shape character. And that's what the original founders were excited about. They could see that. They could really, it wasn't just about starting an institution, and they could really see that the potential there for 9 years of formative development.
That's massive. I mean, I have 3
Yeah.
boys of my own. I'm sure a lot of viewers have raised children, and that age group is critical. And it doesn't take much to go either direction at the right moment in time. And a solid foundation in education, as well as characters amongst the teacher and the staff, is very, very important, which leads into your staff. Tell me more about your staff, how many you have, and what they do, et cetera.
We have 18 full-time and 7 part-time.
Okay.
So we have, administrative staff. We had lead teachers and an assistant in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. And that's one of the things I think that is an advantage in our school, is the fact that the pupil-teacher ratio, particularly in the younger years, is so good that they can be extremely focused and a lot of individualized attention. Many boys and girls, are coming, from homes that don't have the resources and may come behind. Educationally, they have not had a lot of those early literacy experiences of being read to or whatever. So it's a very so we don't waste time.
Right.
So there's a lot of those teachers are very focused. And then we have, all the way through middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we have our middle school, upper level teachers there.
Right.
So we also run a summer program. So we have a 10-month academic year, and then we have 6 weeks in the summer. And the reason for that is because the learning loss in summer for many children is pretty great.
Right.
So if they're not doing anything, if their minds are not active in the summer, they're not reading, they're not stimulated, they can, over the summer, can lose 3 or 4 months worth of skills. Yeah. So if you think of that cumulative over those elementary years, by 4th or 5th grade, the academic gap is pretty big. So that said, we leverage the resources and the funds to run a 6-week summer program to offer academic review, and which keeps them on track. So we have also our staff in the summer as well.
Same number of staff?
No, we have
Smaller.
We have some administrative staff, 3 or 4 people, and then we have 10 counselors. And then we do hire some part-time teachers that help with the reading in the morning.
Okay.
So it's a lot of part-time people, and then we leverage a lot of volunteers to help with the summer program.
That's
so
good.
it's very much a grassroots community effort.
So how many, during the school year, how many students roughly would you have versus how many you would have in the summer program?
Right now we have 135 students in our school.
Wow, okay.
So, and they're all pretty much on very, very generous scholarships. Mm-hmm. And so the summer program, I think last summer we had 87.
Wow, 87?
87.
Like 2/3 of the... Mm-hmm. Wow. And do you have to be at the school enrolled during the academic year?
No. Obviously we open it up to our families, and then, but it's very much an outreach as well. We want to offer this reading program that we have in the summer to neighborhood kids. Right. So we try to market it in neighborhoods, through neighborhood associations, tell others about the opportunity to sign up.
Well, I would think it would be great too if they're in the summer program. Mm-hmm. They're more likely, if they like what they see, is to enroll for the academic year as well. No,
that has happened.
Yeah,
that has happened. So that's a good thing. That gets the name of the school out into the community and helps to spread the word. And so that's been very useful.
And what are the hours during the summertime? Because we're coming up to the summertime now.
I think that they can be dropped off at 7:30, so there's a before camp time, before school or camp time, and then at 9 o'clock they start. Okay. And then they go to 4:30, and then there's some after camp care as well for parents that work.
Okay.
So it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
It really is. And then we have 6 churches in the city. These are churches that have been doing this for a number of years. They bring, say a church will take a week at a time. If we're 6 weeks, the church will say, we'll take 5 afternoons, and they are in charge of the programming for that week. Another church will take another week, another church will take another week.
Really?
So that is a way that, we just leverage the talent and the contributions of our community.
Wow. So how many churches are involved that can?
6.
Sorry, 6. Okay.
6 churches.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So where does the name Brookstone come from?
Well, that's a good question. When the founders were pondering that, it's from the Old Testament, the David and Goliath story.
Right.
And David, of course, was a young lad, and he was standing by the brook, and Goliath was a huge giant, so he was, against seemingly impossible odds.
Right.
But there were 5 stones. There were 5 smooth stones in the brook. So he reached over into the brook and he picked up the stone from the brook and put it in his slingshot and slayed Goliath. And he prevailed, basically. And so it's a very powerful metaphor.
Yeah.
Brookstone is a metaphor for the stones that we give these boys and girls, children that have difficult circumstances, under-resourced, whatever. The stones of, faith, integrity, skills, values, all of that, all of the above, to also stand strong.
I remember when I was in school, a teacher one time told me, we're going to give you a tool belt before you leave. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be an expert on anything, but you'll know where to reach to get the tool that'll fix the things that you need later on. I always remember that. It's very similar in that you're giving them the foundation that they need and the strength to be able to cope later in other educational purposes, but outside in the community too, right? Yeah.
And an identity,
right.
Knowing who they are and that their worth and their confidence comes from. We're a Christian school. We teach these boys and girls that they are, they're fearfully and wonderfully made. That comes from the Psalms.
Right.
That they have a Creator. That they are, that a Creator who makes no mistakes. That they are, they are designed for dignity.
Right.
If you will, and we think that that gives them tremendous asset, you might say, to know that and to know that they are loved. 21st century America, many boys and girls are growing up in homes without a father.
Yeah.
Single parent home. So we're dealing with a crisis in that respect.
Yes.
And it impacts everything. It impacts, the children emotionally, of course, academically, everything. It impacts everything.
Right.
So, the kind of safe zone that we create is a place where they can be nurtured and loved and affirmed, and they can learn these things.
Right.
They can learn things that matter to them. So it's way more than education.
Right. Well beyond that.
Well beyond that.
Yeah. Oh.
We believe that there's a great need in our country for schools like this.
Yes.
That will raise up.
And the faculty, do they live close to the physical school, or do they come from everywhere?
They come from everywhere.
Yeah.
We have, our principal comes from down in the Lake Wiley area. So,
right.
in the early years, Phil, it was as in any startup, it was where are we going to find our teachers kind of thing. You know,
Right.
where are we going to recruit, and so we did have to be very intentional about that. I went to a lot of conferences, you know, to recruit and to talk to young graduates and so forth. But you know, as we've gone along and we have stayed the course, and now we have a reputation for academics and what we provide and the kind of environment, work environment
Right.
that we have, which is so we have, if there's an opening, we have plenty of people who are interested.
Thank goodness.
which is
Right.
wonderful. Yes.
And is any, just curious, but any, are sports involved at all in the school or no?
We do. We have every week our children get physical education. We have a gym.
Okay.
That we are renting space in First Baptist Church on South Davidson Street, which is a blessing
Yeah.
to us. And so we love being in the heart of the city for all sorts of reasons. And it's a wonderful facility. It's a place where there's growth potential. Across the street, the church has a gymnasium, so our middle school kids go and shoot hoops at lunchtime, and they love that, or run laps or whatever. And our boys and girls, I mean, we're now an urban school, so there's not a big playground. There is an interior sort of playground for the younger children. And they use that, and then some of our older children just play in the grassy areas around the school. But it's sufficient.
Right.
Kids will run and holler and play wherever they
Right,
are.
exactly. They don't need much.
But we love being in the city. We think we're close to just amazing assets. The Discovery Place, the Imagine-On, the Symphony, museums.
Yeah, right there.
We think it's part of their education.
Absolutely. I mean, we're very fortunate in Charlotte, especially downtown, to have some great things for the kids to go visit.
Exactly. So we can just take them on, you know, educational field trip, just walk.
Yeah.
Walk downtown. And I think, again, for many boys and girls that have not experienced the city and seen what the city has to offer, they can be proud of that, and they can grow up saying, this is my city, you know?
Yeah.
And becoming civic-minded is also part of that.
Yes.
You know, helping them to really embrace the city and all this, the amazing giftedness.
Do the teachers, or do you keep up with any of the eventual graduates of the program that move on and have lives of their own?
Of course.
Yeah.
We have an alumni society.
Really? Okay.
I mean, our school is small,
Sure,
and
but still, yeah.
but you've got to start somewhere. And last year we started an alumni society, so because we think it's very important for us to know how their lives are unfolding. But more than that, we feel like we want to continue to be an advocate for these students as they leave us and they disperse and they go to high schools. We want to be a pipeline of support, meaning we will have meetings and have them in to have a meal. We'll talk about course selection in high school, about writing a resume, about
Right.
how to get ready for SATs, about financial aid, about scholarship opportunities. And we actually have now a college scholarship that
Really?
we have several students that have, it's a merit scholarship. It is a 4-year scholarship. So it's for, obviously, graduating seniors can apply for it. And so we have 2, and we have another one who's just applied for a 3rd year.
Really? So where have some of the recipients gone to?
East Carolina
Okay.
and Appalachian State.
Okay.
And I believe that the high schooler that is applying now is looking at various places, including UNC Charlotte.
Wow.
But he is, so they're all underway, you know, their careers they have dreams. And if you ask all of our students in our school, if you come over to visit and you ask them all, they've all got aspirations. They all will say they want to be a teacher or, you know, a doctor.
Isn't that so important of what education provides? Is so many things. It's this, the social aspects of meeting other kids. It's giving them the confidence to do things both academically and beyond academics, and giving them the dreams that all children have, and
to dream big.
To dream big, right.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's a huge part of what education is.
Yes.
And so, we're constantly casting vision, look forward. So if they're in the 9th grade, we're telling them to look 12th grade, what are you going to be doing? Always looking forward
Right.
to that next step and planning ahead. And it's very important to do that as a school because, our culture is very sort of think presently, just, here and now, instead of helping them to be very intentional and they can do that.
Right, absolutely.
You just show them how. Yeah. But the other exciting thing is the fact that we are building huge social capital. And that is not a minor thing.
No.
That is major.
Yeah.
So the role of a school, the role that a school has to play in building social capital in lives is huge. We have over 150 lunch buddies.
Really? Wow.
And lunch buddies can come in. People can get involved in the school through volunteering. We have many ways that people can volunteer very creatively as lunch buddies, and also giving. We are philanthropy. Obviously, we exist because of gifts in the community. We do not receive any state or federal funds. So as a school, that's pretty radical. We exist. There is a small fee for families. It's on a sliding scale, but again, our mission is to make the kind of education that we offer an affordable option for families that are under-resourced.
And are you considered a nonprofit?
We are a nonprofit.
Nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit.
So on your screens, if not now, certainly soon, you'll see more information of contact information, as well as how to volunteer on behalf of the school and assist if and where possible. Certainly volunteer is a big part of, from what you're telling me, part of the school, right?
Absolutely. We could not do half of what we do without the wonderful volunteers.
Yeah.
So, and so it's all on our website, or they can call and find out about volunteering. If they want to give, we have an online giving, and we have a partner program. People can sponsor children to Brookstone. So that's how many children have sponsors that also get involved in their lives.
Wow, that's great. And again, that's kindergarten through
8th grade.
Through 8th grade, and then they would, depending on where they live, would then funnel into the private or the city school systems.
Correct.
Or charter school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we try to help them to make good decisions about that.
Right, right.
So come alongside the students and the families every step of the way, even after they graduate.
Well, that's fantastic. What a great school. What a great vision that you and your staff have made. And Aging with Attitude is thankful to have Suzanne Wilson on board. And we want to thank her for coming, being part of our show. We want to thank you all for watching the show and being part of Aging with Attitude, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.